Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Love Restore. I'm your favorite host, Marshaun Olaniyan, and this is KCCR Brownstone Cityscapes Radio. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. If you have yet to subscribe, then absolutely go ahead and do that. Share these episodes with your friends and family that you know can absolutely get something from them. Take the actions and get the information, the tools, the strategies that you and or them did not receive from inside of your house. So that is exactly one of the reasons why I decided to start Love Restore, because the tools, the strategies, the tips, the sit down conversations, I did not receive myself. And as I talk to clients, I'm finding out that they didn't get the information, where they're still trying to figure out these things in their life, as well as friends as well. I mean, definitely my clients, but we're all trying to get on one accord, be able to show up, understanding the psychology of people, men, women, kids, just trying to understand how to be better. But if you can do better by how you're showing up, the person that you're attracting, then that can trickle down into the relationships that you have, you being able to honor yourself and set boundaries. And so we have been in the series of courageous love. We talked about what it looks like. We talked about what it feels like. We talked about how it shapes your views. And then last week, we talked about it being you loving yourself. And so this week, we're talking about unconditional love, what that looks like when you are showing up and being courageous. So without further ado, let's talk about it. Let's jump into this episode, because I know that this is going to be something that it's a topic that people talk about, like conditional love versus unconditional love and what that looks like. And so today, I want to talk about having the courage to love unconditionally without feeling like a fool. And what that looks like is loving with healthy boundaries. We talked about boundaries last week. Self-respect, that was also in there. Emotional intelligence, that was also in there from last week. It's about giving love freely. For the people in the back, you got to give love freely, but not at your own expense of your well-being or your dignity. And so here's how this balance manifests. There are about 10, and I'm gonna try my best to get through, because sometimes I go down a rabbit hole for these 30 minutes. So let me jump in. The first one is loving without expectations, but with reciprocity. What that looks like is you offer love without expecting anything in return, but you are aware that a healthy relationship requires mutual effort. Unconditional love doesn't mean tolerating neglect or mistreatment. Let me say that again. Unconditional love does not mean tolerating neglect or mistreatment. You give love without strings attached, but you also recognize when the love you are giving isn't being reciprocated nor respected. We have to love without expectations. But let's be real. All of us want to feel like we are receiving the love that we need. So we say reciprocity, right? We are giving, but we also expect to receive. And so one of the things that I want to mention right here is that you're not necessarily getting the exact type of love that you are giving. Because if you remember, we have those 5 love languages, and a lot of people's love languages are not the exact same. So just because you are a person that likes gifts, I give you gifts. It doesn't mean that when you are showing me love, now your language to me is to give me gifts, because maybe my top language is quality time. So I give you gifts, and the way that you love me unconditionally, like that reciprocity piece of it, is now you give me your time. I give you gifts, you give me your time. There are others involved in that as well, but that is just an example of not just because I'm showing you love the way that you need it, I need for you to also to reciprocate so I can get the love that I need. But again, it doesn't mean that they're going to be the same or match up. It doesn't mean that. It just means that you both understand that when I give something, usually that means I'm going to get something. You may not receive it that same day in that same moment, but at some point, if I'm giving hugs because your thing is touch, if I'm giving you hugs, I'm giving you kisses, we're cuddling all the time, at some point, my needs need to be met as well in order for me to feel like you are reciprocating, giving me the love. But you're not necessarily expecting, as I just mentioned, to receive it in that moment. But at some point, you should be receiving it. Clear boundaries. We talked about boundaries before, so I'm going to briefly mention it here. Even when you love unconditionally, you must maintain firm boundaries to protect your mental, emotional, and physical well-being, because boundaries ensure that your love doesn't come at a cost of self-sacrifice or tolerating harmful behavior. You can love deeply while still saying no to the disrespect or the abuse. Boundaries are always going to come into play, and you have to be willing to set them and enforce them. And if not, in order for you to do something differently, you have to show up differently. And so if that means ending it, that means ending it. If that means putting up another clear, firm boundary, then do that. But whatever it is that you need to do that for your mental, your physical, and your emotional well-being. All right. The third way that this balance manifests is by choosing compassion over resentment. Unconditional love often involves choosing empathy and compassion in difficult situations. They're going to happen. This is a part of life. Difficult situations are absolutely going to happen. Challenges are absolutely going to happen. And as I mentioned previously, it's about how you allow them to affect you. Challenges are coming. None of us are perfect. And so it doesn't mean allowing someone to take advantage of you. It's not what that means. You can extend some grace and understanding while still holding people accountable for their actions. That's that boundary, the consequence of the boundary, I should say. So you can choose compassion over resentment. You must choose that in order for unconditional love to settle into your relationship. Difficult times are coming. But you also don't have to be no damn fool, okay? We ain't trying to be no fool. The fourth way to balance, the way that this balance manifests in your life, is by emotional independence. Loving unconditionally means your happiness and sense of self aren't entirely dependent on the other person's actions. You love because it aligns with your values, not because you're seeking validation. This emotional independence prevents you from feeling foolish because you aren't giving love just to be accepted or affirmed. Loving unconditionally means your happiness and sense of self are not entirely dependent on another person's actions. If you're always looking for that external validation, you are going to be sick and sad a lot. So those clear boundaries is absolutely a thing that must be there in order for the unconditional love to settle in. That emotional independence, not allowing your emotions to control you based off of what other people have done. In this case, your significant other or spouse. You have to be willing to own and master your own feelings. The fifth way that balance manifests so you can love unconditionally is by letting go and control. I have so many clients. Well, we start off because they are control freaks and they want life the way that they want it to unfold. And it's just not the way that life does for any of us. So you have to be willing to let go of control, because unconditional love requires releasing the need to control others and their responses. You love them as they are, accepting their flaws and their imperfections. This acceptance creates space for genuine connection, but it doesn't mean allowing someone to repeatedly hurt or disrespect you. This letting go of control is one of the hardest things that my clients deal with, because they've been able to control so many facets of their life for whatever reason, several reasons why that happens, but for whatever reason. And then when it comes time for them to allow someone in their space and their face, now they want to control their responses. And that's just not the way that it happens. You can only control you. Your spouse can only control himself. I know we think that we can control our little kids, but we can't. We can guide them, we can direct them, but control them, we cannot. At some point, and even if you do succeed after a while, they are going to break away from your chain, and something bad may occur if they go down that road. That's a different story. Something popped into my head that's super irrelevant. I'm not even going to say it, but I am going to move on and say that you must be willing to release that control that you so desire to have a stronghold on, to be able to literally move and play puppet master to the people that are in your life. You cannot do that. You have to be willing to literally accept exactly who they are. And this is for your friendships as well. Like, you have to make adult decisions about everybody in your life, which is why I know that I'm specifically talking about romantic relationship, but this is for everybody in your life. Everybody. You cannot control anybody. And that acceptance piece literally is about everybody in your life, because there are some people in your life, spouse included, where you literally like, nah, bruh, this is not working out. This is not working. Literally despise when they do, fill in the blank. And a lot of times we allow our spouses a lot longer to get away with stuff, and even our friendships, because a lot of it boils around all of the time, energy, and effort that you put into building the relationship. But when there's such disrespect and such disregard for your feelings, and you're constantly being mistreated, why would you want to stay in those relationships for another day? Why not decide to choose you? But loving unconditionally, you can't control nobody, baby. You have to be willing to look at their flaws and make a decision to say, can I deal with this for the rest of our lives together? Maybe he's a person that's always late. Now you have to make a decision. This is a flaw of his that you have to be willing to say, okay, or not, right? But making an informed and intelligent decision about how you want your life to be and the people that you want to have in your life for a long period of time. But this is what unconditional love looks like, because we know intellectually that nobody's perfect. But as soon as specifically our spouse messes up, we don't like to give them grace and mercy. However, as I mentioned in a previous episode, if it's a pattern, then that is a problem. But understanding that you are going to get hurt intentionally as well as unintentionally when you are in your relationships is just a part of it. You can't control it. You have to be willing to accept who they are today, because change is something that literally is an internal thing. Some people are going to change and others are not. And so you have to be willing to accept them for who they are today, who they are showing you right now. And if they never change, let's go back to being late. If he never changes and he decides that he is going to be late an hour or two or three, is that something that you are willing to deal with until death do you part? Because you have the right to create the world that you want and the people that you want in your world. And so if lateness is a deal breaker for you, honor that for yourself, because there is nothing cute about you sitting around just complaining about the thing over and over again. You have to be willing to do something different in order to get different results. You want him to treat you differently, you got to do something different. Maybe the ultimate is leaving, but maybe it's doing something else. I was about to say something, but I'm gonna move forward. Okay, so the next way that number six balance, the way that this balance and manifest is by prioritizing self-love. I talked about that as well, but you must be willing to prioritize. I talked about what self-love was previous episodes, so now I'm talking about why prioritizing self-love, because you can't love others unconditionally if you don't first love yourself that way. Self-love is the foundation that allows you to give love generously without feeling depleted or used and abused. When you truly love yourself, you can offer love to others without letting their actions define your worth. You can say, you know what? That didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But guess what I'm about to go do? I'm about to go do something for me. I'm about to go recharge my battery. I'm not about to let anybody control my emotions. I'm about to get a handle on this. I'm about to get back to my happy and being unbothered. Now, I understand that this is easier said than done, but with practice, my sister, it can be done. With practice, you controlling your emotions when things do not go your way and say, you know what? I'm not going to allow what he did, what he said, to mess up my whole day, to mess up my whole week. I'm going to do something for me. I'm going to prioritize myself. And whatever that looks like for you, maybe it's literally saying, I'm going to take a bath. Maybe it's you are saying, you know what, I'm just going to take a weekend vacation for me. I just need to get away. Maybe it's you going to reflect but you getting in your quiet place so you can hear, asking the questions that you want the answer to so you can hear the answer without outside influences. So it could be something simple to prioritize your self love and self care, but it also could be something simple. So it could be something big, something simple, something in between. Long as you are taking care of you and understanding that unconditional love for the other person starts with you giving it to yourself first. The seventh way is by practicing forgiveness, not forgetfulness. You can love unconditionally by offering forgiveness when someone makes a mistake. But forgiveness does not mean allowing them to continue that same behavior over and over again. You can forgive, but you learn from the experience and set necessary boundaries to prevent harm to yourself. You must be willing to forgive in order for unconditional love to settle in your relationship. You must. But that don't mean showing up and be no damn dummy. You must talk through the stuff that didn't feel right to you, as well as the why. Why did this happen? Coming up with solutions to make sure that this does not happen again. So this conversation does not have to come up ever again, or the behavior is not displayed ever again. Forgive them. Absolutely. That does not mean be no dummy and forget what happened. At some point, because good behavior over time will replace and you will forget. I get that. But it's over time. It's after he has displayed, and what you forgave him on is not like, I forgive you today, but then you knock me upside the head, literally or figuratively, doing the exact same thing. And then I say, I forgive you. And then you knock me upside the head, literally or figuratively, by doing the same thing over. No, we're not talking about patterns. Mm-mm. We're talking about forgiving something that is not a part of a pattern. So offer forgiveness because you want someone to forgive you when you make a mistake. You understand that you have flaws. And so you must be willing to understand that your partner has flaws as well. And they are going to mess up because what? Guess what? You are too. It's a part of it. None are perfect. The eighth way that this is going to be displayed is by you discerning, using your God-given discernment. Unconditional love does not mean staying in unhealthy or toxic situations. You can love someone and still walk away if the relationship isn't serving your growth or your well being. You can love from a distance, knowing that sometimes the most loving thing that you can do is to let go. Use your God given discernment. God didn't say stand around and be no doggone dummy. Something don't feel right, address it, right? You got to give people a chance to actually fix their mistake. Have the adult conversation, the tough conversation, the one that's making you scratch your head or lose sleep at night. Have it. Talk about how it's making you feel. I'm not saying go and degrade, yell, scream, fuss, and fight. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying go and be direct about the things that you need, the things that you want, the things that you desire. When you got into this relationship, this is what you expected. And in return, you're willing to give, having these adult conversations that most of us were not taught to have. A lot of us think that doing some bodily harm and or physical harm to something that they love, it could be a vehicle, it could be maybe he's a shoe collector, it could be his shoes, maybe he's a clothes collector, a whole bunch of name brand stuff. So now we feel like we gotta put everything in a pile and burn it up or bleach it or whatever, messing up all of his stuff. That's not the proper way to handle things. It might be funny, it sells. People are going to share that toxicity on social media, but everybody's also looking at the person who's doing that, who's being toxic. And the behind closed doors, they talking about how, oh no, ain't no way in hell I'm gonna date her. Ain't no way in hell. And especially, so when those videos get shared like that, after a while, we don't know who you are. But once you have posted it and your closest circle see your toxicity, do you really believe that they're going to trust you to not do that to them later on? No. I can tell you that. No. You have now targeted yourself because you put yourself out there. It's going to be shared for sure. You're going to get some publicity for sure. But now, how does it make you look? Because you didn't use your God-given discernment to walk away. You did not check your emotions. You allowed them to check you. So you thought you was having a checkmate by bleaching the clothes or burning up the shoes or putting sugar in the tank or slicing the tires or writing your name on the side of the car or cheater or whore or whatever other words you want to put in there. You thought you was checkmating them. But in reality, you checkmate yourself. You allow everybody else to see how toxic you really are because you can't control your emotions. You can actually choose to stay or to go. You are teaching people how to treat you. That's how you woman up. That's how you show, now I am not accepting said behavior, not by destroying his personal property or even putting your hands on him. You can't control people. We just talked about that. You can't control what they decide to do. They have to make the decision to do the right thing. But this is where unconditional love comes from. By you understanding you have to, everything that you're asking for, you must be willing to do yourself first before you even think about or have the need to go down that road of showing how toxic you can be or how real you can be. I digress. The ninth way to understand how to love unconditionally is valuing growth and healing. Unconditional love involves supporting someone's growth and healing, but it also requires recognizing when their actions are damaging to you. You're willing to invest in the relationship, but not at the expense of your healing journey. You must be willing to not only value your growth and healing, but also theirs. Honor that they have a healing journey that they're going down as well, because most people, let's be real, most of us have not healed and or started on the journey of healing our own past traumas, which is why we keep exhibiting these toxic behaviors. You cannot show unconditional love if you have not taken care of your baggage. It's not going to work because anytime they trigger, say something, do something, automatically you revert back into the person, and the only thing you see is the person that did you wrong. Yes, it's the new partner in your face, but that trigger actually puts you back into when that activity occurred. Different video. Just letting you know that you're taking it out on the wrong person. And it's because you did not begin your healing journey or your growth journey. You want to invest in a relationship, but you got to invest in a relationship with yourself first. Heal and get on your own grown woman growth journey in order for you to recognize that somebody else has to get on their own and or be willing to say, you know what? I do understand you. I understand exactly what's happening with you because this happened with me. So giving them compassion, or I should say, showing them compassion, recognizing where they're at because you have done your own work. But it also, again, does not mean that you have to accept the fact that they are treating you bad or their behavior is harmful to you. That's not what that means. It's just you can recognize where they're at. But that still does not mean that you have to stay around and love them through that. The 10th way to show up unconditionally in your relationship is by remaining whole in love. Now, what does that mean? You give love without losing yourself. Unconditional love doesn't mean abandoning your needs, your goals, or identity. You remain grounded in who you are. So you're not defined solely by the relationship or the act of giving love. Now, if you listen to my story last episode, then you know that I recently just spoke with a young lady about this very thing. She literally lost herself in the relationship, or excuse me, it was a marriage for her. She lost herself in her marriage. And when her adult child, was asking her the things that she likes in life, she couldn't give her a clear picture. And it took her a really long time to figure out the things that she liked because she had given up her own identity in her marriage. And it was we did. And she never could solely say, I like to do. This is what I like to do. Now, you definitely want there to be some compatibility where the both of you are liking to do things. Yes, get that. However, you still need to know what you like to do. So, like, can you name off 2-3 things that you like to do, including what do you like about you, the person that you look at in the mirror? This is what unconditional love looks like. Loving unconditionally without feeling like a fool is about balanced generosity. It is, which leads to wisdom. You give love from a place of strength and security with healthy boundaries that protect your dignity. It's about loving freely, but also understanding when to step back, when to say no, and when to prioritize your own emotional well-being. This is how to love unconditionally, so you're not in the relationship looking like a fool. But did you notice that a lot of this starts with you? You have to be willing to do all of this for you before you can even think about being able to give and or receive the unconditional love that you want as well. Thank you so much for being here with me for these 30 minutes. We have one more episode within this series where we're going to wrap all of these episodes up together. And if you want to work with me outside of Love Restored, I do coach Black women over 40 that are sick and tired of being sick and tired of trying to figure out things on our own. We talk about all different types of relationship, but the one that we focus on the most is the one with yourself. If you are in a relationship, we absolutely talk about that. But however, if you have yet to start working on you, then we have to start there. Because as I mentioned in all of this, in order to show up and love courageously, you must first love yourself courageously before you can give or receive courageous love to someone else. So if you need some help in that area and you want coaching with me, Marshaun, then email me at marshaun@marshaunolaniyan.com. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And I will see you in episode 6, where we summarize everything that we have learned throughout this courageous love